It seems we're almost at 20 subscribers. I wanted to thank you all, but as promised on my live stream, we've got a big cat to look at. Hey guys, Master Farr here, welcoming you all to my channel. Check me out on TFormers and Deviantart as Master Farr1, and welcome to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you want, and today we are looking at this thing. Yeah, it's a Beast Machine Supreme Cheetor. Yeah, I've got some things to say about this guy, but I think I'll just start with the history of this guy. Released in the year 2000 with a price of $50, Supreme Cheetor was hyped up as being huge as a cat, bigger as a robot, extremely show accurate, or at least as much as they could get. I mean, we did get an Air Attack Optimus Primal, but that's besides the point. You see, Transformers has always been a line to have that one big figure you're supposed to get. G1 had Fort Max, Beast Wars had Optimal Optimus, and this line had Supreme Cheetor. And it would have had Air Attack Optimus Primal, but that one was moved to RID. Now that we got the history out of the way, let's talk about Beast Machines as a whole. Now, I do own a couple figures, so I know what to expect from this line. I specifically own Blast Punch Optimus Primal and Megatron. I did own Black Arachnia at one point, but of course she shattered because she's made of translucent plastic like most of the Beast Machines figures. Now I will say this, Blast Punch Optimus Primal is a really nice figure. Sure, he's a little inaccurate in colors, but it's a lot more accurate than a deluxe one. And his gimmick, for the most part, actually works. Sure, the mechanism doesn't really punch or fire most of the time because it's close to, if not over, 20 years old at this point. But it's a really nice figure. Megatron, on the other hand, he's a lot more redundant if you ask me. Specifically since it's heavily inspired by the Transmetal 2 figure. And when I say heavily inspired, I of course mean there's no reason for this figure to exist. Yes, it has the cloak that he had in the show and the control helmet, but all that's different is the robot mode's a lot crappier, and he has the Viacon Spark Crystal. What I don't like about this figure is that he has a lot of pointless transformation parts, specifically right here. If you just put the arm like this, it looks a lot better and looks like the spark extractor he had in the show. Also, this arm is completely hindered by his Dragon Mode's gimmick. It's supposed to go out like this and slash at his enemies. But in robot mode, it comes off as kind of hindering the whole thing. I mean, look at this. He could just wave his hand like Armada's Sideswipe. But, yeah. Now, the point I'm trying to get across is that the quality in this line is very inconsistent. You'd get figures like this, or you'd get figures like that. Hell, this isn't even the most accurate the line got. That was the Air Attack Optimus Primal that got brought over to RID. Now, with all that being said, I bet you're wondering, is this figure worth your time? Well, let's get onto the old beat-up gym mat and find out with Beast Mode. And here we are in Beast Mode, and we can see one of the biggest things advertised about this figure. Literally, its size. When it was released, Supreme Cheetor was stated to be as big as an actual cat. They even stated in its commercial that it was as big as a cat and even bigger as a robot. Now, I'm actually a dog person and never had a cat, so I'm just going to take these advertising hype things as basically what they mean, so I can get on with the rest of the review. Who's a good boy? Yes, you are. With that being said, of course, this guy does have a few gimmicks in this mode, and these are not all of them either. In this mode right here, specifically in this arm, if you move the elbow like this and you straighten his arm out, his arm extends a la Mecha Neck, only in its arm. So it's like Mecha Arm. And it goes back pretty easily. We'll get to the effect of that in robot mode. Also, this one is made out of translucent plastic and it's, starting to break. So I'm just going to put that back on and try and, you know what, it's not going to play while I'm on camera, so I'm just going to throw it over there for a while, and we'll get to its other gimmicks. Its head moves back and forth like, oh no, he didn't, and so on, but there's supposedly a crank that must have broken off, so never mind. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention mine is a little incomplete. There's a few parts missing, but they don't really affect the robot mode that much. For example, there is a big chunk of the where the head goes. They're supposed. Oops. Yeah, I don't get why there's translucent plastic on here. But apart from that, you can see this clip right here. Now, remember what I said about Megatron's arm and it being pointless to transform it even more? Well, I'm just going to skip ahead and show you how it goes in robot mode. You just, flip it around to the back, never to be seen again. And yeah, it's kind of pointless. All this flap can do is just hang there like Cheetor's had his intestines ripped out. Think of that as you will. Also, something else to mention is that there is actually rubber on his feet. We'll get back into that when we get to his robot mode. And again, in Cheetor fashion, the tail is of course removable. So yeah, as for his other gimmicks in this mode, he has one more main one that flips up his fur. I don't get the reason behind it. It's supposed to have, well, this figure has batteries. It has flashing lights, roaring, missile sounds, and this is an old figure, of course, so when I put the batteries in, it worked a few times, then it started getting disordered and died out. So, yeah. Make of that as you will. But my biggest problem with it is this piece right here. It's completely pointless. So here's how I'm going to fix the transformation and show you that this part isn't needed. Just leave it there and just, whoops. Yeah, this is back before they didn't use pins on everything. For those of you saying Transformers were made better back then, I want you to remember, we didn't have that many pins. Remember what I said about Megatron having that pointless bit of transformation right here? Well, what I'm about to show you is a lot worse than that. Now, getting him back to the way they want you to put him, I will show you this. He does have a little articulation right here. However, as you saw, this part likes to come off. So just putting that back on, well, first I'm just going to show you why it's redundant. And that piece falls out. I take this piece like this, put this back on, like so. Yeah, I really think there should have been pins. It had a big budget, this figure, actually. One of the biggest in over a decade, according to my sources. Hang on. There we go. Now, just putting it in a little like this and clipping it together. Now, don't... Yeah, but translucent plastic doesn't make good joints. And Beast Machines had a lot of it. I'll get to that again in robot mode. But, okay, now look at what I did right here. I retracted the waist in a little, and this articulation bit still works just fine. So it comes off as really redundant to have that extra joint. And much like Megatron, it's just a waste of engineering. But yeah, for a little comparison time, here he is with his first figure. This is specifically the Fox Kids one, as well as the most recent Cheetor offering, the Cyberverse one. And for the sake of it, this figure can make a decent steed, so here's Blast Punch Primal again. It's kind of like the yellow Vanguard from the Generation Select manga, but I'm getting off track. Alright, transformation time, and being a part of the Cheetor and to a lesser extent the Tigatron family of transformation, it's basically standing it up like so. So just take the tail off, stitch out the legs, and stand him up. And this is going to get very tall. So, yeah. Now going to the back of the legs, flip down these little spikes, flip out the little support, and yeah, and do the same on the other side. And since this guy is so big, I'm just gonna cut away and get back to this in robot mode. And here we have Cheetor in robot mode, and he is weird. accurate, to say the least. He does come with one accessory, of course, his tail, which turns into this really nice looking blade, actually. But we'll get to that later. To start off, I'm going to say the commercials were right. This thing is even bigger as a robot. So much so that he isn't actually transformed right now. This is actually his legs at full extension. Hang on. For the sake of comparison, here he is with Fort Max. And yes, these are the DNA upgrades, and you can see he is like around the same size as Omega Supreme or Scorponok when he comes out. But yeah, getting this much better figure off to the side. Oh, and speaking of which, this guy has rubber on his feet. I'll get into that a little later when we go through it. But speaking of that, let's go through every part of this figure one by one, starting with the head. That being said, while it does have the main look of the face right, it honestly looks terrible, specifically with the teeth and the eyes, which you can see right here, honestly look possessed compared to the much more adult yet kind of cute look of the Beast Machine show. Now, honestly, when I think of this guy, it kind of looks like that episode where he was infected by a virus, much more similar to the Hate Plague. However, I will have to guess it was because of this, his gimmick. Pushing down a little lever on his back of the head, you can see it opens his mouth and changes his eyes to green, which I guess is a reference to the original figure because the Cheetah Mode's eyes could be any type of color. This was mimicked on the Universe 2.0 figure, but that's neither here or there. But honestly, I hate to borrow from TJ Omega, but he really does look possessed.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I will kill your family.
But really, and again, I hate to borrow again, but his head is translucent, so it does look like his brain is throbbing, which is really off. Yeah, head moves left and right, and if you unhinge it, it does move down like he's agreeing with you. But yeah, head sculpt. Maybe the rest of the body can save it. Moving on to the torso of the figure, you can see it is nicely molded and sculpted. However, it isn't really that accurate to the show. Well, that shouldn't be such a shock because this is Beast Machines we're talking about. But yeah, this is actually the heaviest part of the figure. You see, this not only holds the arms together, which we'll get to those, but it also can store a lot of stuff, and it needs to in order to, oops, I'll just take this off first. But it holds a lot of stuff. For example, the Beast Mode head, it goes in there too. As well as the battery compartment and a lot of the electronics. For example, there's a speaker right here that houses the roaring sounds, the missile sounds, and basically every other sound this figure can make. And it goes out to about pretty far. He's got a pretty big chest. But yeah, this is definitely the heaviest part of the figure. The arms, on the other hand, they're also full of gimmicks, so let's just get to those right now. As stated before, it has the same Mecha Neck-esque feature on this arm, but articulation on him... I gotta prop this figure up, and we'll get to why. Don't worry, we'll get to why. I'm not gonna put everything back on yet. Just you wait. But getting to the arms, you can see they are nicely molded, and he actually does have finger articulation, which I guess if you want, you can have him flip off Viacons. Though it's only in the cartoony standards that 4 fingers. So make of it as you will. Or maybe you could just have him give you a thumbs up. However, this does not rotate. Rather, it's the Mecha Neck inspired gimmick I just mentioned. As for articulation in this arm, it goes 360 degrees. It kind of goes in and out. And there's a elbow and swivel right here. And we're going to get to the other arm in a few minutes. I just want to talk about these legs. Now, getting everything back on him, we come to my biggest gripe with the figure. The legs. For most of this review, I have actually had him propped up against my couch. That is because you can see just by shaking it, it topples over. And I know, but like even just putting it down, that was only good luck. Because watch, he will fall no matter what. And it is completely inevitable. This thing will fall no matter what. I'm serious. It's mainly because of how heavy the chest is, but also because of how overjointed this figure is. I mean, here's the leg articulation. Swivel right here, swivel right here. Do the transformation. You're supposed to extend it. That adds more articulation. But this piece right here, it's completely useless. It just makes the figure that much worse. Also, legs can kick out that much and do 360 degrees. Kinda. But, again, if you got rid of this piece right here, the one I'm clenching, he could actually stand. And it would actually be in proportion with some of the other figures. But no, we gotta make him as big as we can. Screw how heavy the chest is and how gimmick overflowing the arms are. Speaking of which, this is the other arms gimmick. It's supposed to fire missiles, but now it's just a power punch. And again, as stated, as you can see right here, it attaches right here, and that makes the sounds come out. So yeah, I'm just going to show you how the figure is meant to be shown. As stated before, he has been mistransformed throughout the entirety of this video, so give me a second. And here he is on how he's actually supposed to look. Now, of course, if you've seen Beast Machine, he, of course, has those chicken legs. While they look fine in the cartoon, it doesn't really look as well on figure, especially from the side. It honestly looks like he's about to tip over. And with the height and length of that chest, ooh, it just doesn't look right. And it's all honestly because of this joint right here. If they didn't have it, it would be serviceable. Yes, they'd have the gimmicks in the arm and the uncanny head, but it would have been something. At least he could stand. And even then, he doesn't stand so well. But yeah, and I forgot to mention one thing. Hang on. Stand, you piece of crap. His sword. I've been holding this off for a while. He's supposed to hold it in both hands, but it really only works in this one. You put it in like this, and I will give it this. He has a great grip on that sword. And he holds it like this. And have fun trying to pose it because the gimmick will automatically go off. And this arm, it's a pain he has to get into. But yeah, here's what I like to do actually. And I feel like this helps the figure a lot. Just taking his arm like this and almost putting the hand down enough so the gimmick won't go off. Just like this. And yeah, take a look at this. Take a look at this. Now he's actually holding it properly, and he actually looks formidable. Yes, the connection's still a little loose, but hey, who says I didn't try? Now, overall, I can just say this. This figure feels rushed. And that's all I can say. From the gimmicks to nothing being that thought out. The fact that it was hyped up and released soon after, yeah. And for those wondering, I got this one for absolutely free. Yes, I had to pay $7 for the head, but the guy messed up and I basically got this head for free. So, yeah. This figure doesn't have weight. It does have one positive. It makes one of the best ventriloquist dummies you can get. So, Cheetor, do you have anything to say for my 17 fans? What are you doing? Just subscribe. Yeah, I'm going to learn how to throw my voice. But, yeah, that's about it. This is Master Farr signing off. I hope you like this new format I'm trying for my videos. Check me out on Deviantart and TFormers, and I will see you next time. And one more thing. I am going to be customizing this figure, so probably be expecting that soon. Don't make me, please. Alright, update time. I feel like, you know what, screw it. I don't feel like fixing this figure. This figure can't be fixed. You know why? With figures like this, you gotta smash them. Like that. So yeah, this figure sucks. Have a great day.